Did Taysom Hill deserve $21 million?
All right, so if you're wondering to yourself, how could the Packers do what they did where they don't get a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers? They never have gotten in the first round a wide receiver or a running back, but they decide to trade up to get his replacement. If that's insult and disrespect, then what this is overpaying to keep Drew Brees young until you can find his successor, possibly this guy or somebody else. Although you've got precious little evidence that Taysom Hill is a good quarterback. You've just got evidence that he's a very good athlete. He will help Drew Brees stay young. The Saints are in win now with Drew Brees, but they signed the insurance of Jameis Winston, who could have had a better offer with the Steelers, according to reports, but decided to work with a guy who doesn't throw interceptions to see if he could reinvent himself. This is how you treat a quarterback like Drew Brees at the end.
Yeah, I mean, Taysom Hill is not a quarterback. He would have gotten a lot more money somewhere else if he was a starting quarterback in this league. He also wouldn't be playing H-back or running down on kickoffs or running the ball up the middle on short yardage situations if he was a quarterback. So I hope everyone gets that thought out of their head. But his value to that offense is undeniable. I think that he is worth this money in part because of the level of preparation that it requires for other teams. I think that we don't appreciate how little time there's constraints on practice for all NFL teams throughout the season, how little time they have to prepare for a game plan. And if you have to spend some of that time preparing for Taysom Hill, that is value. I think there are plenty of other players who make as much money as Taysom Hill, but do not eat up the same amount of real estate in the minds of defensive coordinators. So if you are thinking up a whole package for Taysom Hill, that's a blitz package that you can't put in against Drew Brees. And that's some sort of coverage or double that you can't put in against one of their other players. So that value, I think, is there. It doesn't show up in the stats. It may not be that valuable to other teams, but for the Saints, I think it's a value that is worth paying for. And about 10.5 over 2 years is not that bad for someone who puts that much pressure on defenses.
Man, that's how Rex Ryan explained running the Wildcat in 2012, right? This is how defensive players look at it. They're going to waste our time in these meetings by doing this other stuff, and that's how you wind up with this. Now, this is my thing. Can you name a time, and I've never heard of anything like this, where a team signed a backup quarterback so that they could keep the franchise future quarterback healthy, right? Because the idea behind this is if Taysom Hill's as good as they're saying, then Taysom Hill's just your backup quarterback. That's it. No, they want to be able to put him out here and have him do the gadgets. And so if Drew Brees gets hurt, somebody needs to be out here to play quarterback because your other guy is out here doing these gadgets. And all I'm saying is if Taysom Hill is not your best answer at quarterback, if it's not Drew Brees, no matter the reason, then why in the world are you paying him $16 million? Like this is insane. We all need to acknowledge it's insane. And the most insane thing about it is, how many of y'all watched Taysom Hill play ball at BYU? I watched him do terrible things to Texas 2 years in a row, and not a single person thought that dude was an NFL quarterback. Not one. Now, somehow, magically in his 30s, while he spent most of his time doing special teams and working with all the different position groups, he became an NFL quarterback just at this point. The moral of the story is, they don't pay you because they have to. They pay you because they want to. And they didn't have to pay him. They wanted to pay him.
They certainly didn't have to pay him, and they did want to pay him. And maybe I'm reaching. It's not just the amount of time that he requires in practice. Those roster spots on the game day are few and far between. If you have one person who can account for several roster spots, that gives you some more flexibility. That may not be worth $60 million, but that is added value. I wouldn't say that Taysom Hill is a starting quarterback. They clearly don't think so. Say Taysom Hill he's a fun uncle. And they paid him to be so. They got to go out there and get another real guardian to be the real backup quarterback. But they got Funkle over here who can run some gadget plays and have a good time.
Well, hold on. Number one, let me ask you this. How you think Alvin Kamara feel all about this? If Taysom Hill just being out here and there in spots is worth $16 million, how you think he feels? Number two, how is your responsible Uncle Jameis Winston?
Well, this is the thing about that, Bomani, because the stats, it's not just that he's the responsible uncle. The stats show you that Jameis Winston threw more passes last year to Saints and completed them than Taysom Hill. Like that.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about Jameis Winston. You know why this is the best move for him? Because you know where Jameis Winston needs to go? Someplace where he's not going to play, right? Because if we don't think about him for a while, his experience becomes an advantage as opposed to whatever he just did being a disadvantage. If he'd have gone to Pittsburgh, you think Ben Roethlisberger going to play anything close to 16 games this year? Because I don't. That means that Jameis would be out there, and honestly, Mike Tomlin don't need that kind of stress in his own life. I can't believe he'd be willing to entrust his future to that dude. But he goes down to New Orleans. He ain't got to play. They got a strong little scheme. He might get in there, have a little 2-0 stretch. He could clean up his whole name because there are people still entertaining the possibility of Jameis after 30 interceptions being a starting quarterback. Man, he go down there and lay low and don't eat too much of that etouffee. He'd be all right.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.